This is TWiT.
As I've promised, I won't spend lots of our listeners' valuable time discussing boring details of endless ransomware attacks. But when a ransomware gang gets so big for their britches that they suggest that perhaps a government which is refusing to pay their ransom should be overthrown by its citizenry.
This was so ridiculous.
I know. I think that rises to a new level of interest. Yes. I referred to this drama for the first time mostly in passing last week. Russia's Conti ransomware gang is behind the attacks on several Costa Rican government ministries. Over the weekend, they doubled their ransom demand from $10 million to $20 million. The Costa Rican operations which have been affected are the Finance Ministry, the Ministry of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Telecommunications, the Labor and Social Security Ministry, the Social Development and Family Allowances Fund, the National Meteorological Institute, the Costa Rican Social Security Fund, and the Inter-University Headquarters. In two messages posted to Conti's leak site on Saturday, the gang, which has already leaked 97% of the 670 gigabytes stolen during their attacks, claimed the U.S. government was, quote, sacrificing, unquote, Costa Rica, and that the country's government should pay for the decryption keys to unlock their systems. As I mentioned last week, Costa Rica's new government had just taken office and immediately declared a state of emergency after refusing to pay the initial $10 million ransom demand issued by Conti. Costa Rica has received assistance from officials in the U.S., Israel, and other countries. And the context for me mentioning all this last week was the State Department, the U.S. State Department's announcement of a $10 million bounty for information about anyone connected to Conti, with an additional $5 million payable for information leading to an arrest and conviction. So, Conti posted, quote, "Why not just buy a key?"
Yeah, why not?
It's only $10 million.
Yeah, no big.
Come on.
And
the persons wrote in the first person saying, "I do not know if there have been cases of entering an emergency situation in the country due to a cyber attack." I think they're, like, again, getting a little too ahead of themselves.
Is this a ransomware for hire kind of ransomware, Conti, or like where it's a service? So this could be just some guy who's being a jerk, or is this the Conti group themselves?
I think this is the Conti group themselves, and we'll actually they
probably
sort of mentioned
Putin's henchmen. Honestly,
they mentioned this, so they said in a week we will delete the decryption keys for Costa Rica, and then followed up with a posting. "I appeal to every resident of Costa Rica."
So evil.
I know. "Go to your government," wherever that is, "and organize rallies so that they would pay us as soon as possible." But apparently you only have a week because the decryption keys are going to be deleted. Then it's too late. They said, "If your current government cannot stabilize the situation, maybe it's worth changing it." Like I said, too big for their britches.
Jerks. Oh, my God.
In another message, the group called President Joe Biden a terrorist, probably as a result of the State Department's new bounty declaration, and said it was raising the ransom to $20 million. The group also implied that it would begin calling government officials to demand the ransom. Yeah, like they've got a spare $20 million in their pockets. And then finally, the last message I'm quoting, they said, "Just pay before it's too late. Your country was destroyed by two people. We are determined to overthrow the government by means of a cyber attack. We have already shown you all the strength and power. You have introduced an emergency." Wow.
So depressing. There's such jerks
so
out
it's
there.
true. It's true that Costa Rica is limping along at the moment. The attack crippled the country's customs and taxes platforms alongside several other government agencies, even bringing down one Costa Rican town's energy supplier. The country's Treasury Department has been unable to operate any of its digital services since the attack, making it nearly impossible for paperwork, signatures, and stamps, all required by law, to be processed. More than 3 weeks after the attack began, the country is still facing significant struggles, particularly because of the damage done to the finance ministry. Last week, the country told its residents that taxes need to be calculated by hand and paid in person at local banks, as opposed to the digital system the country had previously used. So, back to the Stone Age. Or pre-internet, at least. Wow. And yes, Leo, as you said, they're not going to get any money from this. That Costa Rica will, get outside assistance and limp themselves back into existence, and nothing will come of it.